Thank you. Yes, Robert Moore with the British network ITV News. Prime Minister, it's clear there is a sort of security alert underway at the moment around the Jewish community in Britain. Can I just be clear, is that based on specific intelligence? Should people be concerned about doing their daily activities this weekend? And do you regard a terrorist attack on British soil as almost inevitable? Mr. President, you say there is a dialogue underway with the big American tech companies, but do you share the Prime Minister's view that the current threat environment is so severe that there does need to be a swing of the pendulum, a little bit maybe from privacy towards counter-terrorism, and that this area of private encrypted communications is a very dangerous one, potentially, in terms of facilitating dialogue between terrorist groups?
On the issue of the threat that we face, as I said, the level has been set at severe. That is set by an independent expert organisation, so people can have full confidence that these things are never done for any other motives than literally to look at the evidence that is there about terrorist threats and to set the level accordingly. When the level, as it is at the moment, is set at severe, that means that the authorities believe an attack is highly likely. If we believed it was imminent, then you would move to the next level, which is critical. We clearly do face a very real threat in our country. I mean, in recent months, as I was discussing with the President, we've had a number of potential attacks averted, for instance, on British police officers. That is the threat picture. It's regularly reviewed, regularly updated, but it shouldn't be moved unless there is real evidence to do so. In terms of the protection to the Jewish community, and indeed other communities, and indeed to police officers themselves, this is based on what has happened in France, on the whole picture that we see, and it is sensible, precautionary measures to make sure we do what we can to reassure those communities who are all too aware of the threat that they face. And this is a bigger challenge for us. I think one of the most moving sights in Paris was to see so many people holding up signs saying, "Je suis flic, I'm a cop. Je suis juif, I'm a Jew." And I thought that was incredibly moving, that people wanted to stand together with one community that had been singled out. And singled out not because of anything other than the fact they were Jewish. And so I think it's very important that we speak up and stand up for those communities and give them the protection that they deserve.
Obviously, in the wake of Paris, our attention is heightened. But I have to tell you, over the last 6 years, threat streams are fairly constant. David deals with them every day. I deal with them every day. Our CT, our counterterrorism professionals, deal with them every day. So I don't think there's a situation in which, because things are so much more dangerous, the pendulum needs to swing. I think what we have to find is a consistent framework whereby our publics have confidence that their government can both protect them but not abuse our capacity to operate in cyberspace. And because this is a whole new world, as David said, the laws that might have been designed for the traditional wiretap have to be updated. How we do that needs to be debated, both here in the United States and in the UK. I think we're getting better at it. I think we're striking the balance better. I think that the companies here in the United States at least recognize that they have a responsibility to the public, but also want to make sure that they're meeting their responsibilities to their customers that are using their products. And so the dialogue that we're engaged in is designed to make sure that that all of us feel confident that if there is an actual threat out there, our law enforcement and our intelligence officers can identify that threat and track that threat at the same time that our governments are not going around fishing into whatever text you might be sending on your smartphone, and I think that's something that can be achieved. There are going to be situations where there are hard cases, but for the most part, those who are worried about Big Brother sometimes obscure or deliberately ignore all the legal safeguards that have been put in place to assure people's privacy and to make sure that government is not abusing these powers. And on the other end, there are times where law enforcement and those of us whose job it is to protect the public aren't thinking about those problems because we're trying to track and prevent a particular terrorist event from happening. And it's useful to have civil libertarians and others tapping us on the shoulder in the midst of this process and reminding us that there are values at stake as well. And I think that David and I welcome that kind of debate. The technologies are evolving in ways that potentially make this trickier. If we get into a situation in which the technologies do not allow us at all to track somebody that we're confident is a terrorist, if we find evidence of a terrorist plot somewhere in the Middle East that traces directly back to London or New York, we have specific information, we are confident that this individual or this network is about to activate a plot, and despite knowing that information, despite having a phone number or despite having a social media address or email address, that we can't penetrate that, that's a problem. And so that's the kind of dialogue that we're having to have with these companies. Part of it is a legal issue, part of it is a technical question, but overall, I'm actually confident that we can balance these imperatives, and we shouldn't feel as if because we've just seen such a horrific attack in Paris that suddenly everything should be going by the wayside. We have, unfortunately, this has been a constant backdrop, and I think will continue to be for any prime minister or president for some time to come, and we've got to make sure that we don't overreact, but that we remain vigilant and are serious about our responsibilities there. All right? Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.